everybody. My name is Deborah.
And I'm Garrett. Here at TCC, we're all about four things: knowing God, finding freedom, discovering your purpose, and making a difference. A huge part of that is becoming a part of what is called the Dream Team. This is a team of people who have decided to make Courageous their home and have found an area to serve that they're passionate about.
And the way to be part of the Dream Team is by going through Growth Track. Now, these are 3 easy steps to help you discover your purpose here at Courageous. Step 3 of Growth Track is today at 11 a.m. at both of our locations. We'll have childcare and snacks. Step 3 is reserved for those who've completed Step 2 of Growth Track, but don't worry if you missed that step because Growth Track happens again next month. If you have any questions, the info desk can help.
For all of you who are in 6th through 12th grade, get ready for CGen Unite this Wednesday at our North location. This will be a hangout that will include student-led worship and an awesome message. This week's theme is a beach party. Students, you don't want to miss out on all the fun.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. We hope you have a great week.
My name is Brandon. Obviously, I am not Pastor Tyler, and I am not the lead pastor here. I am one of the worship leaders here. If it is your first time hanging out with us on a Sunday morning, and I am super excited about being able to talk to you this morning about the blessings of God. And today is my wife and I's 7-year wedding anniversary. And as I was getting ready this morning, I was in the mirror, and she was standing next to me, and I looked at her, I was like, "Can you believe this is happening today?" And she was like, "No." So today's a really special day in many ways for us, so love you, babe. And today, we've been having such a great summer here at Courageous. We had House Party series a couple weeks ago where we partied every week celebrating our community together. You know, we send lots of our Dream Team members out to the DR to serve out there. As Eli was saying, Serve Day was huge yesterday. So, serving is just what we do here at Courageous Church. And we are 2 weeks into a series called Running with Giants. And today, we're going to talk about serving. And specifically, we're going to talk about how we handle the period of preparation after God makes us a promise. Because most of the time, it's after God makes us a promise that sometimes we get discouraged or we get defeated or we get doubtful because there's a delay sometimes in what we see and what God says. So today we're going to talk about preparing after the promise. Preparing after the promise. So, like I said, serving is a part of our Courageous Code. If you've been through Growth Track, if you're on the Dream Team, we say we want to make a difference and we are ready to sweat to make it happen. Yesterday, biggest serve day we've ever had, over 350 people all over our city out there making a difference. So we're going to dig into the Word and see how we can connect serving to running with the Giants this morning. So we're going to pick up in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. And it's our verse for the entire series. Pastor Andy preached from it last week. So, and it says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses," and I'm going to pause right there because when we say a great cloud of witnesses, essentially what the Bible is telling us is that there are people in heaven who are watching down, who are witnessing the race that we've run, and not just our family members, but the great giants, the patriarchs of the Bible, okay? So it says, "Let us throw off everything that hinders, everything that the sin easily entangles." So what it's also telling us is that sin is going to come at us. And it's going to be hard, but we need to throw off everything that attaches us to that and let us run with perseverance the race that has been marked out for us. Marked out for us. This is the next thing I want you to know is that our race here on earth has been predetermined. We're running a race that God has already designed for us and already been predetermined with a predetermined finish at the end of that. So we get this image of us running this predetermined, this pre-plotted race that similar people, including our loved ones and the giants of the Bible, have ran. And so they're up there giving us advice, and they're cheering us on. They're cheering us on. Now, I never played sports. I don't claim to ever have played sports. Okay, I am short. I am 5'4", Hey, that's why I have this podium. It's not because I wanted to be all preacher, like I can't see on the table, okay? Because I'm too short. But I'm a whole 5'4". In high school, if you can get this image, I was 5'4", 240 pounds. So I was not very, oh, y'all, that hurt. But I was a whole 5'4", 240 pounds, so I wasn't a sports guy, but I was a band guy. I was a band geek. And you might laugh at that, but in the South, that's a big deal because halftime is just as good as the game, all right? Okay? And I was drum major, so I knew how to cheer people on. So even though I wasn't in the sports, I knew how to cheer people on. And in the band, I was a drum major, so I knew how to coach our musicians in the band to where they needed to be and coach them on. And it's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about helping to develop our worship leaders week in and week out in our development process, because I found what I'm good at, and I put that in to other people, because everyone has something great in them, but everyone needs someone cheering them on to bring that out of them. So last week, as I was preparing for this message, I was also planning my 2-year-old's birthday party, Hudson. And, I had to be a cool dad, so I had to make sure he had a Spotify playlist for his birthday party, right? So I'm going through, and I'm picking out a little Sesame Street, a little Barney, and then I came across some Dora, and we don't really do Dora in my house, but I came around a little Dora, and I started listening to the songs, and I'm telling you, when you're looking for encouragement, you can find it, because I was going through the Dora songs, and Dora had one, she goes, I know that you can do it. Come on, let's get to it. And I'm like, yes, Dora, yes. Yes, tell him, preach it, Dora. I'm telling you. So, when we look in the Bible and we look at the patriarchs, the Moseses, the Noah, Isaiah, what Pastor Andy preached last week, what if we could hear from them? What if they could speak to us, giving us secrets to run this race? That's what the Bible does for us. So today, we're going to dig into Elisha. And in order to talk about Elisha, we have to talk about Elijah. So there's Elijah, and then there's Elisha. Okay, so if you've grown up in church, you may know a little bit about Elijah. If you haven't, I'll tell you a little bit about him. He was one of the greatest Old Testament prophets, did lots of miracles in his life. And I'm going to tell you how cold Elijah was, right? So Elijah, the Lord told him to call a drought throughout the land. Drought didn't just happen for a little while. Drought happened for 3.5 years. And during the drought, Elijah went for nothing because he listened to God. God said, hey, you thirsty? You need some water? Look, go over here. I'm going to make sure you got your water. Look, you're hungry? You need some food? Listen to me. Go over here. So God sent Elijah to a woman who had very little oil, very little water. Said, he's hungry, feed him. She made him a biscuit, and the Bible tells us that she never went without in the middle of the famine because she served Elijah. And that's the kind of miracles can God do. That's like the Old Testament version of the two fish, 5 loaves of bread miracle that God did. He did the same thing back then that he's doing today. So why are we not talking about Elijah then, if he was so great? Well, like I said earlier, those that become great do so because they have people around them that serve, that make it easy for them. CEOs have assistants. Bosses have secretaries. Football players have water boys. It is what it is. Cowboys, they're America's cheerleaders cheering everybody on every week. Heroes have sidekicks, people who do the heavy lifting. Throw the first one up here. Right? Where would Batman be without Robin? Like, always giving him a scope, always telling him what's happening, always telling him what's going on. Throw the next one up. Right? Need I say more? I have nothing to say. All right, throw the next one up there. Right? Okay, throw the next one. Hey, come on now. If it wasn't for Dory, Nemo would probably still be stuck with P. Sherman at 42 Wallaby Way in Sydney, Australia. Let's be honest, right? And the greatest of all time, Simba. Come on. Where would Simba be without little stubby Timon and chunky Pumbaa? Nowhere. But if we had to be honest, oftentimes we don't see ourselves like Han Solo or like Batman or even as Simba. We often feel like we're Timon and we're Pumbaa and we're Dory, not knowing our left from our right or where we're going. Sometimes we feel like we are in the shadows. When is somebody going to see me? All the work that I do week in, week out, nobody cares. So while Elijah was amazing in his own right, his protege, Elisha is the real hero of this entire story. Elisha spent most of his time steering. He was a farmer, so he steered oxen every day. And that was what he did, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, he steered oxen. And I really wanted you to get an image of what that looked like, what it looked like to spend all day, steering oxen. And so I'm from the South. Spent some time in New Orleans, some time in St. Louis. And what I've seen down there is they have the horse carriage. They do the carriage. Put the picture up there, okay? Now, I put this picture up here because this is a modern-day version of Elisha's vantage point. Okay, this is what he saw all day. Ox butt. Right? This is what he smelled all day. And look, this is a nice version because they got like little pouches there, right? This is a nice version of it, okay? And if we had to be honest, if you spend too much time in the wrong vantage point, that's how you will begin to see yourself. So, how do we get from one vantage point to the other? And I think if we look at Elisha's story, this is our first takeaway point. Give your best wherever God puts you. Wherever God puts you, because God is always watching. When you're doing the mundane, when you're doing the smelly, when you're doing the same thing over and over again, God is watching. When you're processing paperwork over and over, God is watching. Moms, when you're doing that endless pile of laundry again, God is watching. Husbands, dads, when you're begrudgingly helping with that endless pile of laundry again, God is watching. And he's watching not only what we're doing, but he's watching how we handle it, what we say while we're doing it, how we treat others while we're doing it. And here's the thing I think we all have to understand is that we can't really get along with God until we understand how he works. Okay, until we understand how he works. And if we look at the stories of the giants, I think the takeaway message from all of their lives, especially Elisha, is that God is watching you before you come great as a measure of your potential to be great. Okay, I'll say that. God is watching you before you become great as a measure of your potential to be great. So give God best in the obscurity, and God will reward it. When you think you're not being noticed, when you think nobody sees you, not even God, I want to encourage you to serve anyway. Serve anyway. All right, let's look a little deeper into the story of Elisha. So we're going to look at when Elijah, the mentor, calls Elisha to be his mentee. 1 Kings 19. So Elijah went and found Elisha, son of Shaphat, plowing the field. First time they ever met. And there were 12 teams of oxen in the field, and Elisha was plowing the 12th team. So I'm going to pause. It didn't say there were 12 oxen. It said there were 12 teams of oxen. So know this about Elisha. He was not a little stubby man. Like, he was well off. He had stuff. He was doing good. What he was doing, he was set. Okay, and it said Elijah, the mentor, went over to him and threw his cloak over his shoulder. This is like James Brown, get up ball for that thing. Like he cloaked him. He cloaked him. Okay, and if we get that image, this is God covering him. God is calling him to do something greater. And watch what happened next. And then Elijah, he walked away. He's like, hey, I want you to hang out with me. See you. That's what he did. He walked away. And he didn't just walk away for a little bit. He walked away for 10 years. 10 years. Right? What is taking so long, God? Well, God is concerned with how we handle the obscure times. God is watching us prepare for the manifestation of the promise that he has called on our lives. Now, I told a little bit about my story growing up in church a couple weeks ago. And so I grew up singing forever, but I didn't always sing lead. It wasn't my thing. I have a good ear, so I can hear harmony, so that's what I prefer to do. So I just served whatever we needed. So drums became my second instrument, not because I wanted to do it, because there was a need and nobody else wanted to do it, and so they asked me to do it, and I did it, and I served. Piano became my third instrument, not because I was interested in it, but because there was a need there was nobody to do it, so I volunteered and I served. When I moved to New Orleans and I really wanted to get involved in ministry, I told the pastor, and he said, okay, I need you to wash the windows. Yes, sir. I need you to vacuum the floors. Yes, sir. I need you to go and clean the bathrooms. Yes, sir. I was full-time nursing student, part-time job, and I was at church for experiences 9 times out of 7 days of the week. Okay, 4 to 5 times on a Sunday, twice on a Monday, 3 times on a Wednesday, 1 on a Saturday morning. And I believe I'm experiencing the manifestation of God's blessings over my life because of how I serve still today. Because God cares about what you do during the period of preparation. Your service matters. Next verse says this, Matthew 6:4, New Testament. Your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. So don't loathe, don't begrudge in your period of preparation. The Bible tells us to pray in secret, to fast in secret. We all know that person that fasts, and we know that they are fasting, okay? All right. But the Bible tells us to fast in secret. It tells us to give in secret. I'm going to tell you something I've learned about giving. Look, don't give to be seen, but always be seen giving. And this is more than just money. This is your time and efforts. Always be seen giving because you never know who around you is watching you, who God has watching how you handle your preparation period. So be diligent in those things because when you give your best in the small things, God will give you bigger things to do because God cares about the details. That first verse says we're running a race that's already been marked out for us. So he cares about the details of that race along the way. And let's check out the details of Elisha's story. So I'm going to pick up right after he got called, right after he got cloaked. So immediately after, Elisha returned to his oxen and he slaughtered them. He went all in right away. Oh, you want me? Okay, I quit. See y'all later. I ain't coming back. I got called. God called me to something else. I'm out. That's essentially what Elisha did right here. And check out the details. He used the wood from the plow that the ox used to pull to build a fire and roast the ox. So not only did he quit his job, but he burnt the papers. He was like, I ain't coming back. I am not coming back. I'm going all in. And then watch what he did next. And then he went with Elijah as his assistant. He began to serve. So Elijah didn't go all Hercules 0 to hero. Remember I told you Elijah was set. He went from hero to 0 because he listened to the voice of God when God called him to something. So be encouraged. Be encouraged. When you hear from God and God makes you a promise and you respond to that promise and you start taking care of the stuff that you need to so you can step into that promise, it will happen for you. But we can't be naive. We can't get discouraged and think that that period of preparation is going to be easy. Because it's not. I mean, Elisha went all in right away, but he had no idea it would be 10 years before he saw anything that God was going to do in his life. And this is why getting involved in small groups is so important. This is why having a community of people around you who are also following God is so important to encourage you. All right, this is why you need good people in your Facebook feed, okay? All right, your squad goals need to also be in your Facebook feed every day, okay? So little disclaimer, I'm a little bit embarrassed, but I got like 1,700 Facebook friends. I might have a lot. But when I was going through them, 300 of them are my people here. It's my people. And I can control what I see every day. I can control what I'm reading every day, who's going into my life. And so I want to show you what showed up in my Facebook feed a couple days ago. Wife, you don't know this, sorry. My wife shared one of these mom posts, and she shares a lot of mom posts. And the post said, when others are on the mountaintops and I'm in my sweatpants. Right? And so I saw the head and I was like, oh, Jesus, here we go. And so I read it and I clicked on it. And then I saw the comment at the bottom. And before I go to the comment, put up the next picture. So Renee is the person who had commented on my wife's post. And if you know Renee, she serves in the coffee bar. We featured her story on the Facebook page a couple of weeks ago. I just want to read a piece of her story from the Facebook from the Facebook page, and this is the reason why she serves. She says, I find great joy in serving and connecting people to TCC. When I make that drink for a tired mama, a stressed out couple planning a wedding, a C-Kids worker that needs that extra boost, it's so rewarding. It's like giving them a hug and a cup. That's Renee's heart. And I want you to know, these stories that we share, these are real people. This is their heart. Put the Facebook post back up there. I want you to read what Renee posted to my wife. And I'm going to give my Renee impression. Girl, there is no harder or greater calling than raising those children. Loading that dishwasher and caring for the environment of your home is so important. I was like, yes, get her, Renee. I was like, yes, get her. But then watch what else Renee said. She said, look how much God cares about us and what he put into the surroundings all around us. And I was like, man, I guess you're talking to me too. Girl, what you are doing matters, even if you are doing it in sweatpants. Luke 16:10 says this, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. So I think if we look at Elisha's life, this is the next thing we can take away. Give your best in the natural, in the everyday, and God will do the supernatural in your life. God's promise still stands. He will still do what he said it will do. 10 years in the natural, Elisha spent. Still no miracles yet. But watch what happened when God did the supernatural. All right, let's pick back up on Elisha's story. So this is what happened right before we get into this verse. Elijah, the mentor, one of his miracles is that he skipped death. When he died, he went straight to heaven and went up to be with Jesus. That's one of the big miracles that Elijah did. And so this is right before that moment. So Elijah said to Elisha, tell me what I can do for you before I'm taken away from you. And basically, Elijah was saying, welcome to Chick-fil-A. How may I serve you today? That's what he was saying. And I think God tells us that sometimes too. So my question is, what are you asking God for? What are you asking God for? I'm going to tell you what Elisha did. And I think, and this isn't Bible, but I think Elisha was probably frustrated. 10 years at this point. 10 years of nothing. Elisha said this, hey, let me inherit a double portion of your spirit. Everything you got, I want double, because it's been 10 years and I'm tired. I want more. Give me what you got. Basically, you're in Chick-fil-A line. You know the line. You know the line, right? Basically, so this is saying, what do I want? How can you serve me? Look, I want 2 gallons. I want 2 gallons of the lemonade, and I want them on the house. Okay? I want everything you got. I know y'all are generous. You like to give out the 2 sauces. I want 10, because I'm tired. I'm tired. And watch what Elijah said to him. You have asked a difficult thing. Yet, if you see me when I am taken from you, basically, if I am who I say I am, if I'm going to do what I said I will do, you will have it. It will be yours. If I am not that person, then it won't happen for you. This is God saying, if I am God and I say that I will do it and you ask me, I will do it for you. And this is the twist in Elisha's story, that God did twice as much in Elisha's life that God did in Elijah's life. Elijah, the mentor, had 14 miracles. Elisha, the mentee, had 28 miracles in his life. So how did he get it? How did he get it? Well, he served and he asked. And he asked. And he was diligent in the preparation. When you serve, you're watering the seeds that God has already planted in your life, and you will get discouraged. It happens. We will get discouraged. But don't get so discouraged that you stop asking God for big things. That you stop asking God for big things, because he still is who he says he is. And maybe you will say, I did, but he said no. Okay. Maybe that no was a not yet. Maybe he's protecting you. Maybe you're just in your period of 10 years. Sometimes I feel like we go to God, he tells us something, and we're so impatient, because that's how society has trained us to be. I can't get through a 30-second Facebook video. But we get so impatient. We're like, what's next? Okay, God said no, now I'm mad. Don't get so discouraged during the waiting period. Serve in obscurity, and God will bless it. The New Testament says this, Jesus talking, John 14. Whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these, because I am going to the Father. You can ask me for anything in my name, and I will do it. What if we all had an ask list? What if we all had a big ask list? On a Sunday, we were between two services, we run about 1,000 people. What if all 1,000 people in our church had an ask list? And we had 2 things on it, 2 crazy things. And God did it. I believe we'll see 2,000 miracles just in this church. Can you believe that? Can you wrap your head around that? 2,000 miracles just in that church. Because I know we serve, but are we asking? Are we encouraging each other during the period of preparation? So I think if Elisha was rounding the track of our race with us, the first thing that Elisha would tell us is learn how to cultivate the presence of God in your life. In other words, get close to God. Pastor Andy talked about it last week in your worship, going all in your worship. He talked about holding the baby, the TV, the heartburn, whatever you have to do, get close with God. Go all in. Go all in. Remember I told you Elijah, the mentor, did a miracle in the drought. He had water. Elisha did a very similar miracle. Okay, so Elisha called the drought. It was about 3.5 years. I'm sorry, it was about 7 days. It was about 7 days, and there was a bunch of smart people, a bunch of kings had heard about Elisha at this point. They knew he was a miracle worker. And so they didn't know what to do in the drought, so they called Elisha. And look, this is why I know I'm not in the Bible. Because if they would have called me, I would have been so petty. I would have been so petty. They would have called me and I'd be like, oh, who, me? Y'all want me? Oh, okay, well, let me see what I can do. Because y'all wasn't calling me when I was in front of Oxbutt all day. But, I'll see what I can do. I'll see how I can take care of y'all. But that's not what Elisha did, because Elisha was called. He was cloaked and anointed. 2 Kings, so the first thing he did when they called him, he said, but now bring me a harpist. Basically, he was saying, cue my music. I need to get close. I need to hear from Jesus right now. Cue up some music. And while the harpist was playing, the hand of God came upon Elisha because he cultivated the presence of God in his life. He knew there was no hope in the situation until he connected his heart with that of God. When you cultivate the presence of God in your life, you will begin to hear clearly what God is speaking to you. When we remove all the obstacles between us and God, we can hear exactly what God is saying to us. So I think the second thing, if we were rounding the track with Elisha, what he would say is, and when God speaks, do something. We saw he went all in. When God speaks, do something. After the worship set is over, do something. After you say your prayers, do something. You served so hard. Everybody served so hard yesterday after serve day, but that's not the end. Do something else. Do something and do something else. Well, let's look at what Elisha did when he did something. 2 Kings 3:16. And he said, so he cultivated the presence of God in his life. God spoke to him. And he spoke the words of God. He said, this is what the Lord says. Make this valley, remember they're in the drought. Make this valley out here full of ditches. But God would ask you to do some crazy stuff. Right, you think that made sense? No water anywhere. He got close to God. God said, hey, go dig some ditches. What? Jesus. Let's talk for a minute. Let's talk for a minute. You know what you're asking me to do? And he's like, yeah. God will ask us to do some crazy things. And look, when you share that with somebody, don't get discouraged because they're not going to be on your side. Because if God wanted them to do it, he would have spoke to them. They're not going to always understand what God asked you to do because he didn't spend time with them. He spent it with you. And he wants you to do it. He wants you to work your faith. James 2:17. Faith by itself, if not accompanied with some actions, is dead. It's dead. If you feel like everything around you is dead, that you're in a dry place, I'm going to ask you, what have you done lately? By the way, is that Janet Jackson? What have you done for him lately? Do, 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 do. Rhythm Nation. I'm sorry. That's my music thing going on. But listen, if you feel like you're in a dead place, ask yourself what you've been doing. And I know how I would answer it. I would say, man, all I do is stuff. All I do is serve all the time, every week, multiple times a week, multiple times within the week. And you know what? If I had to be honest, sometimes I don't feel like it. I got other stuff to do. Sometimes I don't feel like it. But I'm encouraged by Elisha's story because when nothing was happening, when it seemed crazy, he dug those ditches because he believed what God told him to do. And this is what God furthermore said to Elisha. 2 Kings 3:17 picks up again. For this is what the Lord says. You will see neither wind nor rain, yet, somebody say yet, this valley will be filled with water. And you and your cattle, your family, and the other animals, everybody connected to you, will drink. This is say these next two words, this is an easy thing. This is an easy thing in the eyes of the Lord. And I will also hand your enemies over to you. Look, it's natural for us to get discouraged in what we don't see. We're so used to instant. Everything is instant. Like I said, I can't sit through a Facebook video. Now they start putting ads in them. Now I get mad and just move to something else because I can't wait 15 seconds. I got other stuff to do. We get so discouraged in the instant. So much of society has messed up our kingdom mindset, our kingdom point of view. But the Bible tells us to walk by faith and not by sight. So I think if Elisha was around in the track, the last thing he would say is this: don't base your life on the seen, but base your life on the unseen. Be careful with when what you see doesn't match up with what God spoke to you. Last verse, 2 Corinthians 4:18. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. Every head bowed, every eye closed. I'm going to pray for us this morning.